Well, Turkey's government is flagging tougher terrorism laws in response to Sunday's suicide car bombing in Ankara that killed at least 37 people. The Turkish president says it's necessary to expand the definition of terrorism to include those who support such acts, and that this could include journalists, academics and politicians. No group has claimed responsibility for the attacks, but the government is blaming Kurdish separatists. As Anne Barker reports.
Mourners weep at the funeral for a 20-year-old woman killed in Sunday's car bombing. The university student was one of 37 people killed in the suicide bombing in the heart of the Turkish capital. More than 125 people were wounded. Many are still fighting for life in hospital. My cousin was injured in the bombing, says this man. The incident happened as she got on the bus. I called the hospitals, but we couldn't find her. So we went around from hospital to hospital and we finally found her. She had brain surgery. Turkey says evidence shows one of the suicide bombers was a woman and a member of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, which has fought a 3-decades-long insurgency for Kurdish autonomy in Turkey's southeast. A second bomber also had suspected links to the party. Neither the PKK nor any Kurdish rebel group, or even Islamic State, has claimed responsibility for the bombing. But Turkey's Prime Minister, Ahmet Davutoglu, says the evidence points clearly to the PKK. 11 people were detained, he said. All of their network is exposed. There are very serious and almost certain findings that point to the separatist terrorist organisation. The latest attack is the second in less than a month, blamed on Kurdish rebels. Another Kurdish group linked to the PKK claimed responsibility for an attack on an army convoy in February in revenge for a planned Turkish military operation in the southeast. And Sunday's bombing came as the government was reportedly preparing for another big military assault. And Prime Minister Davutoglu has vowed Turkey will continue its fight against Kurdish rebels until they're wiped out. I'm calling out to those behind these terrorist centres, he said. You won't break our resolve. Last night, following this event, after the links to the terror organisation were determined, our armed forces conducted a comprehensive operation in northern Iraq. Whatever vile attacks you perpetrate, we won't shy away from taking the necessary steps in the struggle against terrorism. Now, Turkey is planning other measures to crack down on terrorist groups, particularly Kurdish rebels. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has flagged steps to redefine terrorism to include not just those who carry out the attacks, but their supporters, including journalists, politicians and academics. It's an apparent reference to a pro-Kurdish political party, as well as those who support the Kurdish cause or oppose the government's military campaign. The one who blew up the bomb or pulled the trigger can be a terrorist, but those are the ones who support them to achieve their aim. Therefore, I think we should make a new definition of terrorism and terrorist under our criminal law. The Turkish government faces growing unrest too from ordinary Turks angry at the growing threat of violence. Protesters in Istanbul called on the government to resign for not stopping Sunday's attack. We no longer want to die, says one demonstrator. This is the third explosion in 5 months in the middle of the city, in the centre of the country. We don't want to die anymore. Police used tear gas and water cannons to break up the crowd and arrested at least one demonstrator.
Anne Barker reporting.